Rach, we have $435 to last us till the end of the month.
A loaf of bread is $5. Who can afford that?
If you do see products on sale, which has become less pervasive than ever before, buy it, stock up, put things in the freezer because prices are not going to go down.
Hey everyone, I'm Felix, just your average Joe. And today I want to share a story about how I accidentally escaped the inflation wave that hit during the tail end of the pandemic in 2021. As you can see from this table, inflation rates started soaring from April 2021 onwards. And at that time, I was grinding away at a startup in New York City, and it was a wild period. Everyone seems to be fleeing away from the Big Apple because of the pandemic. And so I got a sweet deal on my studio apartment in the Upper West Side, which is a really bougie area, with the rent dropping from $2,000 to $1,500. And believe it or not, this is the first time I ever saw a discount in the New York housing market.
What?
Rumor has it, the next tenant paid a cool $2,500 after I left. Anyway, at the end of 2021, I decided to quit my job despite the good pay. The grind was wearing me down, leaving me physically and mentally drained. And very often, I spent almost all my waking hours at my job. And so I knew I needed a change before my health took a nosedive. And around this time, I was in a long-distance relationship with a woman from Ecuador, and we reached a pivotal point, either to take our relationship to the next level or call it quits. I've never been to Ecuador or Latin America. It had never ever crossed my mind until then, except from this song.
What?
But I figured, why not? What did I have to lose? I'm looking for an adventure, and this sounds like an exciting idea to me. And so I took the plunge and traveled to meet her in person. And we continued to hit it off. And soon after, I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. But what I accidentally discovered in Ecuador, and it still amazes me to this day, was the incredibly low cost of living compared to New York City. Just to give you an idea of what we're looking at, let's take the 4 main expenses in New York City. Number 1, rent. I randomly chose Bay Ridge in Brooklyn because I once thought of living there. But as you can see on Street Easy, typically the average rent of a 1-bedroom apartment is between $2,000 to $2,400. In Ecuador, you can rent a similar place with a garden for $400 to $500. That's like 500% cheaper. Gas. As you can see, gas prices in the US averages around $3.60 per gallon, whereas in Ecuador, it's $2.45. Assuming you put gas in your car once a week and you have a car with a 12-gallon tank, your annual gas cost in the US comes to around $2,250, while in Ecuador, you're looking at $1,500. What about utilities? So in New York City, utilities range from $30 to $90 monthly for electricity, depending on the season, and roughly around $30 to $50 for water. And in Ecuador, it's just $5 each. Finally, groceries. I spend around $70 weekly at Trader Joe's. In Ecuador, the same amount can feed my girlfriend and I for a week. So as you can see, despite US inflation peaking at 9.1% in June 2022, I barely felt the pinch because I spent most of my time here in Ecuador. And so my journey to look for love in Ecuador accidentally saved me from inflation. Besides the benefit of being easier on my pocket, I came to discover many unexpected perks from living in Ecuador that I really appreciate. The big one for me is weather. Man, New York City winters left me frozen. I'm definitely not a winter person. I used to freeze my butt off with temperatures from 0 degrees Fahrenheit and under, and it also left me feeling gloomy due to the lack of sun. But here in Ecuador, where I'm living, in the mountainous region, the weather is consistent throughout the year with temperatures ranging from 50 to 70 Fahrenheit. There is also plenty of sun during the day, which really helped me with my emotional well-being and my sleep. Another one for me is the environment. So my girlfriend lives in the countryside, and so I wake up every day to nature with chirping birds and grazing cows. She also has a big garden to roam around, and so I spend a lot of time outdoors pondering about my life and my purpose. And this is a stark contrast to New York City hustle, where there are tons of people. The pace of life is fast and stressful. And so this change in environment really brought me a lot of peace and happiness. This trip to Ecuador not only helped me spark my self-discovery, it also helped me define my journey into the future. I realized that happiness doesn't hinge on material possessions or conforming to the American dream. There are many different ways to lead a purposeful life. Now, obviously, to be able to come to Ecuador to do this, you really need to have the option of working remotely. I was fortunate to be in a company that allowed this flexibility even after the pandemic. But even if you work physically in an office, you could still save like $10,000 and have a mini retirement for a few months, which I think is quite worthwhile. But if you don't work remotely at the moment and you are interested in working remotely, we could explore this in future videos. As far as I can see and read, there are many US expats living in South America with a $2,000 social security check. And because you don't need a lot of money to live at a comfortable level in Ecuador, this may get very accessible to any average Joe. Moreover, US citizens traveling on a tourist passport can stay at Ecuador for up to 90 days per calendar year without a visa, plus you can choose to extend for another 90 days. Furthermore, Ecuador uses the US dollar, so it's very convenient to come down over here and you don't lose any money from the currency exchange as well. So that's my story, finding love and inadvertently sidestepping inflation. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to pop them in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed my story, hit the subscribe button and let's connect in the next video. Bye!